Well, hey guys, welcome back. Just checking out some snowshoe tracks back there, rabbit tracks. Welcome back once again. Whew. It's a balmy 10 below right now. Good exercise, good cardio workout though, doing snowshoeing. Yeah, a little quick tip about snowshoeing. People ask me too. I get long poles. I have my old cross-country poles because when it gets a foot, 2 feet deep, you want to get down to the base. These snowshoes where they sell little downhill ski poles, what happened? You're down here trying to reach. If you ever do it, get long poles if you're going cross-country like this, other than on a groomed trail. But that's basically not what I'm here for. Right now, warm. Tell you the truth, if you get to know me by now, I like to answer questions from people that email me or comments. And since last week, I was in a bedding area, and I'll tell you the truth, for some reason, people are asking me more and more about that licking branch. We all know you can probably see 1,000 videos on licking branches, but hate to say it, but you're going to see 1,001 right now. My version of licking branches in big, heavy forested areas like these, I use them everywhere. Like I said before, I want to consolidate them one area and see what I have for collective inventory in that area. So what I did, I compiled 4 different scenarios for you from that last year, from last January all the way till now. And what I do, I'll be showing you pictures of each different area and how I set it up and why I set it up that way. Okay? The first 2 areas will be on feeding areas. Where I set them up, I put licking branches up, and the last 2 will be on bedding areas. You see the difference in what can happen, the good and the bad, what can happen with these licking branches. Number 1, if you start noticing the pictures on here, what I had was an area. You ever take a ride, just get in your truck or car and just go on some back roads? That's what I did last year. I drove and drove on an old gravel road, and I saw some daylight off to the side, and I parked the car. I thought, I just want to check this out. Never seen it, never seen maps, nothing like that. I walked back on this old muddy, grassy trail from years ago where they may be logged or something, and I saw an opening that was lush with a lot of woody stem count was huge. Blackberries, raspberries, opening lush vegetation. But it's an area that has a low density population of deer. Not hardly any hunters go there, whatever it may be. And thought, well, I'm gonna check it out. I went around. Now what you would do is you scout the perimeter. That's what I do. I scouted this whole, it was probably about 40, 60 acres worth. And I scouted the whole perimeter. And typically I like to be on the east side if there's anything, so that the westerlies come to these deer before they get out in these openings. They like to smell whatever's coming through. And I went to that southeast corner, and believe it or not, in the woods, it's an area with no oaks, nothing healthy in that respect, poplar, slashings, maple. But I saw 2 faint trails crisscrossing, just faint, not much pressure on them at all. Maybe a rub or 2 here and there. But where they crisscrossed before they entered into this opening, now as you're seeing these pictures, you're going to see in the background the light opening back there. So that's how far I am back into the woods, where they can basically stage before they go out. I thought, why not try it? I set a licking branch on that cross trails. And this is what you're seeing. And I let it go, and I thought, my gosh, when I went to pick it up, I couldn't believe my eyes. And you're seeing it right now, just for an example. Here's the catch with the feeding area, guys. I kept that going, and they were going all the way till the end of September. And typically, you know yourself, they shed their antlers. They shed their velvet, I'm sorry. And what happens? They start splitting up. And all of a sudden, by October, I started hunting it. There was nothing. And I mean nothing. And I thought, what did I do? There's nobody up there. One day I went out there, and about a mile away, I could hear some implements, big tractors going. I thought, something's going on. I took a walk down this old grassy lane all the way to where, you know what they were doing? They're starting to cut. They were cutting lumber out of there. All my deer, long story short, They moved to that area. They went close to a mile down the road. And I went in the evenings when they were done cutting. And I went in on a Sunday when they weren't there, the loggers. The tracks were unbelievable. They were every night, as soon as they were cutting trees, they were there feeding on the tops. Feeding on the tops of those trees. That's where they all went. There you go. Now that's what can happen when you put these licking branches. They give an inventory, but when you put them in feeding areas like this, look what can happen. Boom, they can move out in a heartbeat. And I'm sure you guys in the agricultural area see the same thing. You have a certain crop that's in, you got soybeans, all of a sudden they pick this, they go on to the corn, they cut that. Deer move around, they gotta go where different food is in. They know what's good for them. And that's what happened there. Then at that point, when I went over there, they scattered. I mean, there were just one here, one, they just dissipated into different areas. But at least I got the inventory. That's my point. By having that licking branch, I got a place where you know what, I gotta go check this back again. There's what I'm getting at. So that was that one area right there, out of nowhere, that I never would believe. Have faith sometimes. You may look, I never swore that there was any deer there, honest. I looked like, boy, this don't look too good. But as long as I'm back here, I always carry a camera with me in my backpack. And I always take a branch that's on the ground. If you notice in that one, it's a dark stick. Look for that dark stick in those pictures. And then I take my juice and I pour it all the way down. I still use my juice, ammonia, doe urine, okay? And I fill it with water just to jumpstart it. But once they get going on there and they put their preorbital and they put their forehead scent, you're good to go. And they check it time after time, as you noticed. But when you put them in feeding area, they got to eat, guys. And they move because late fall, that vegetation died off. And they heard those implements. They know up in the North Woods when those loggers are going, they're going to be there. And that's where they went to. That's number one. Number two set. Last, let's see, it was about end of February. I was scouting an area and I came to the same principle. Basically the same. I looked where they logged over, but nothing really materialized. You didn't get popple slashings out of it or anything like that. They were taking maple out of there. So I was getting a coppice method. I was getting a lot of shoots coming off the stumps, which really helped. But I noticed it was a huge area, but it was just, I pictured under the snow, it was lush vegetation, naturally because it was sunlight. Now there again, the same principle, guys. What would you do there? Probably the same as me. I walked the whole perimeter again, and I noticed down, I always head, like I said in the last one, to the southeast corner. I like those, because northwest winds come across, and there was an island of pines down there that they left. A few balsams. Now that to me is like an oasis. They stay there, they'll stage there and just watch. They can see over the entire area. And I saw one trail coming along that edge, and I saw some nice rubs right in that little island, maybe a 1 acre island of pine that was surrounded by this big opening. I hung that branch there, and that's what you're seeing right now, that lush vegetation. Come spring and summer, look what I have for pictures on there. The same thing, they went just what I thought. They went for the vegetation. Remember, the does need that for lactation when they're feeding their young fawns. Bucks love it. It's all vitamin K. They need this. So they were feeding there all summer. Oh, a variety of bucks. Man, it was great. Left and right, left and right. The last picture I think I showed you on here as you're seeing it was when? It was in the fall. One buck was left. And you know why? I was so attracted to that area because behind there was a beautiful oak stand. And a year before, in 23, we had acorns. And it brought all those deer there. So they continued through the winter feeding on acorns. They went into this last spring, staying there, feeding on lush vegetation. But this past fall, what happened? No acorns. All those hillsides of oaks didn't produce any acorns. I walked it. I couldn't figure out what happened. In October, same thing, the deer were gone. Now up there was nothing else. They just dissipated in different areas. I tried picking them off one at a time. It's damn tough, guys. It gets tough then. But there's your two feeding areas. What can happen? They just split off because at that time when everything dies off, they have to go for food somewhere else. So they just spread out. Bucks are done shedding their velvet, they spread out in different areas, and off they go. Thousands of acres. One at a time, you got to go try to find their scrapes. That's basically what you do. That's what happened to the 2 feeding areas. I just wanted to show you those 2. That's what can happen. Now number 3. I went to an area that also had some oaks that looked favorable, and that was last January. And I could see, as I was walking, I could see daylight in the background. And I thought, well, maybe it's dropping off a little bit, hopefully down into a swamp. And as I got closer and closer, the terrain did start dropping off, and I saw a little lake off to the side. So there again, and on this little trail I was following, deer trail, it started picking up some rubs from the year before, fresh rubs. I thought, okay, dropped off into a swamp down below. There's a lake over there. What would you do? I figured, I'm not touching their bedding. I'm coming right up here on top where they come up and go off into the big areas to feed. I put a licking branch right on this old grassy lane of some sort. But they were using that little trail there to come up out of that area and come up. I put that in January. You're seeing these pictures. January, last year, look at what I have already. They hit that. And then it continued on through the summer into the fall. Now, there's a difference. They stayed there because that's a bedding area. I put a licking branch right where the bedding is, not very far. And the thing is, with these licking branches right out in the open, I love them out there. I don't just break a branch like a buck does and just hang it under here. I don't. I like it out here. I like it hanging right out in the middle because they're curious. Man, they're all curious. That's what deer are. And they just love it. And they check in to see who's all there. From time to time, they'll just check it from that point on. Continually check. Does, bucks, fawns will always go up there and smell who's here. That's all. The bucks will go into whatever, if they're dominating in a social hierarchy, they all got to check on what buck is there at the time. And it continues all through the fall. And it continues. Now, that'll be good. Now, I'll be back there next year again, too. That area, because it was a good bedding area, and it showed me that they were there all the time. They never moved. So apparently, they have enough food in that area to stick around, and that bedding area is holding them. So you might want to consider that when you start putting up these licking branches. Okay? That's number 3. Now, in between this, one thing you got to watch, it isn't all of a sudden you just hang one up in a brush and hope that somebody will all come there. I had one up on a trail in the middle of the woods that they were using like a staging area, but you know what happened? Nothing. I mean, it was dead. It went for about a month. When you just stick a licking branch on a trail somewhere, good luck. You know, because those deer can go on any trails. There's nothing holding them there. You're just putting it in the middle of the woods. So watch it. Use a little common sense when you're starting to put these up somewhere, that's all. And it's not, you know, it's not rocket science. You see something that looks bucky to you, more or less, put one up there. You have nothing to lose. They're never scared of it. They never shy away. Nothing like that. Okay? Now we'll go on to number 4. 4 is what you saw last week. There I went all the way in. I went right to their beds. And I put that one up there last, when was that, like I said, March or so? I put that licking branch up there and I left that go all the time. That's right in their beds. I gambled there because I knew it was a doe area and I was curious to see how faithful they were to that area. But there I went right in there. Okay, if you find bedding area like that, I wouldn't make a habit of this, but I knew I wasn't going in there for the entire year. I wanted to stay out of there, just hang up a licking branch and get out. If you want a collective inventory of an area that you're not going to be bothered with all the time, just hang one up there. I poured my juice down there in March, and they started hitting it, and they just continue on with their scent, and it went all the way through, and they're still bedding there as I made that video last week. They're still there. That's one advantage I can say in regards to putting up licking branches toward bedding versus feeding. If you have a feeding area that you know that they're going to continue all through the fall, you're okay. I don't have that up here in the big woods that much. They have to continually move to find feed. That's the trouble. So you might have one that's hot at a certain area. Now, like next year, if we have an acorn crop, I'll try to find some oaks that I can start throwing this at. We didn't have any this year, so they moved out. They have to. See, they have nothing then. That's my point, guys, behind this. If you're curious about licking branches, use common sense. And personally, I do like collecting my inventory. I'll still put some up in the feeding areas, but I know more and more every year that, you know what, they can move out in a heartbeat. But if you see a productive area starting in the fall, that they're staying around, hit one and see what you got going there, if you're curious. And it may hold them, because I have some licking branches that turn into regular breeding scrapes. It's so active. The bucks love it. They know the does are coming there. By fall, come breeding time at the end of October, they're still hitting it, and they're hitting it hard. I don't scrape underneath that much when I set these out. Now, in another week or two, I'll be setting some out again in different areas I'm looking at. The point is that they will start scraping it. They make their own scrape underneath if they're interested. That you don't have to worry about too much. And common sense there again, if you're putting out in the spring, there's not much activity in that regards. They're not that active. But the thing is, get them out there. Put those dang things out there and just see what happens. It's a fun sport. It really is, if nothing else. You get some great pictures. You know, I think I enjoy that more than anything, as you probably know by now. But that is your 4 different scenarios that I wanted to show you guys of what takes place in some of these areas. But all you can do is try, okay? That's all you got to do, is put them out there, hang them up about a good chest high, okay? But take about a 1-inch stick. I like a natural 1-inch stick, and I hang it just with I have paracord. I just hang them up there off a branch and come down. Now there again, you can buy these kits now. I see that in the stores. I think, who is that, Wildlife Research? They have a rope kit with everything in it. They got the scent, they got the rope. Feel free. I mean, if that's what it takes for you, go for it. I just like a natural stick. Everything's natural to them. They don't have any foreign odors on them or any type. They make their own odor. They make their own scent on there. That's all I wanted to say about this, guys, okay? So if that helps you, hey, go for it. Let me know how you're doing on them, too. I enjoy answering these comments. I really do. Okay? Hey, take care. See ya.